Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we are going to talk a little bit about the idea of Russia getting their hands on it. It's become a thing, a talking point. And I've had a couple of questions basically saying, I'm really surprised you didn't bring this up. So, we're going to go through the different scenarios. I didn't bring it up because I think it's a little early to speculate on any of it, but we'll go through some of the different options, some of the different things that could occur. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, we're talking about the Reaper that went down. There are indications at time of filming that Russia is going to try to recover it. And this leads to a whole bunch of different scenarios that could show up. Okay, so first, it is unlikely that there's much for them to work with. The U.S. has stated that they took measures in this regard. What those measures are, don't really know, and we probably won't find out anytime soon. But even just a normal, quote, unguided flight or a sky-earth conflict tends to render light aircraft like that separated out a lot. There's probably not going to be a whole lot for them to work with. But let's say they get it. Okay, what happens next? The concern in the media is that Russia is going to get their hands on this tech and reverse engineer it and use it. Yeah, I mean, that's possible. It's possible. But the reality is what we have seen in Ukraine suggests that Russia is not up to the task. They are not a technologically advanced military. They are not in a position to be able to successfully reverse engineer it and then produce something similar, actually exploit the information that they're gaining from it and then integrate it into the military that they have today. Is this something that could happen later? Yes, it is. But by that point, U.S. tech is going to be even further ahead. The real concern is not Russia getting it and doing something with it. The real concern is Russia getting it and giving it to the Chinese military, who actually do have the capability to exploit it. That's real. That's a much more realistic concern from where I'm sitting. Now, is that going to happen? Maybe. But again, depends on how much they can get. The thing that is actually surprising about this to me is that Russia is doing this in a somewhat public fashion. And there may be unintended consequences from it. There have been a lot of pieces of equipment that Ukraine can really use that would be very beneficial to Ukraine. And the reason that the U.S. hasn't provided them is the risk of them falling into Russian hands and then Chinese hands and so on and so forth. If the Russians are successful at recovering large portions or the sensitive portions of a Reaper, well, that concern doesn't exist anymore. And it may alter the thinking when it comes to what the United States is willing to provide to Ukraine. I will tell you that the way Russia is fighting right now, they would not fare well against a Ukrainian military with Reapers. That would be a game changer. That's actually the more surprising part of this to me. The Russian government has to understand on some level they have to know that if they are successful in this, they're removing one of the key reasons they're not facing this thing on a battlefield. And understand, a Reaper is good for surveillance, but it's called a Reaper for a reason. It doesn't have to be unarmed. And that would alter the dynamics of the conflict in Ukraine. So that to me is the more surprising part. The ability to reverse engineer it. Sure, they can do it, but by the time they're in a position to be able to exploit it, the U.S. tech's going to be further ahead. Real concern is them getting it, understanding their own limitations, and giving it to the Chinese military, who would be able to do something with it a whole lot faster. But all of this is contingent on what they can actually get out of the water, what they can actually recover. And DOD's statements seem to indicate that they're not too concerned about it. Now, that could just be posturing. We don't know. When it comes to something like this falls into that area where the Department of Defense, there really shouldn't be an expectation that what they're saying in the press conference is true, because it may be in DOD's best interest to project an image to Russia, to message to Russia about it. But we're going to have to wait and see what Russia's actually capable of bringing up and what they're able to recover. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.